Welcome to Career Tools. This is Wendy.
And this is Kate.
Today's cast, engagement surveys. How to help your manager succeed, part 2.
The questions this cast answers are, how can I help my manager with their engagement survey? What actions can I take to help improve my team's engagement? And how can I talk to my manager about their engagement survey scores?
If you want the answers to these questions and more, keep listening.
Trying to grow your career? Good news, you don't have to do it alone. The Career Tools license gives you everything you need to take control of your professional development with practical, proven tools that actually work. Access to thousands of hours of actionable guidance, audio and written, tailored to your goals, with new content added every week. Whether you're prepping for your first job or aiming for the promotion, it's all in there. Included in the license is the full interview series, resume workbook, first job fundamentals, a free DISC profile, and effective relationships. You'll also get a $50 training credit. Plus, you'll join a community of driven professionals, people like you, inside our private forums. Ready to take your career further? Start today at manager-tools.com/memberships. So our outline today includes offer to brainstorm solutions, follow up, and recognize limits.
We talked in the first part about how managers might feel a bit alone when they get their engagement survey and they've been told that they have these things that they do well or they don't do well, but they don't really, and they're supposed to have a plan about it, but they can't talk to you about it because it's all supposed to be confidential. So we talked last time about how to talk to them about the engagement survey itself, how to talk about the positive aspects and the negative aspects. And now we're going to talk about what to do to help them make a plan for making changes. And we're going to start by offering to brainstorm solutions.
Once you know which areas your manager wants to improve after your discussion with them about the positive and negative parts of their survey results, you can offer your support by saying something like, I appreciate you sharing those challenges. Since this is ultimately about making our team work better together, would it be helpful if we brainstorm some potential solutions? There might be things we can do as a team to support you. Making this suggestion about brainstorming solutions is the way that you can prevent overstepping. While your manager has the ultimate responsibility for making the changes that improve their scores, of course, and without them, any attempt that the team makes would likely be ineffective. That doesn't mean that they know how to do it or that they can do it alone either, right? It really is a team effort. Specifically, it may just be a team effort in that the team has to, yourself and your peers as the team have to recognize that the manager's trying and see that. And then, of course, feel positively about it. It is true that you need both them and the team, your manager and you guys, the team, to be involved in this if we're going to have a positive outcome, regardless of whether it's taking actual steps or just supporting the manager. And by offering to help them find solutions that the team can implement, you're giving practical help rather than forcing them to do what you think is best. Also, because you might not know what is best and your manager might not know what's best. It can be tough to know what is going to, as we talked about last time, affect people's positive outlook about this kind of thing, right? You were talking last time about incentives. Like some people want X and some people want Y and all these things. And
some people are very suspicious if people change their behavior. And, if the manager just changes their behavior, maybe the team will make some assumptions that are incorrect. Whereas if you're in on this solution thing, at least you can head off like, dude, if I don't think that you praising every single person in every single team meeting for the next 3 weeks is going to help. Like, I think that might backfire on you. So maybe we could try something else,
Absolutely. And if what you're asking is, hey, do you want help brainstorming? Your manager can always say no at this point. They could say, no, I think I got it, or I'm going to look for other resources, etc. It's honestly really supportive, even just to offer, even if your manager doesn't take you up on it. They'll feel likely that you are helpful. Probably the way they would mentally characterize it in a lot of cases is that you're a team player.
Yeah.
And that's a positive for you, even if what happens is that you're not involved in the next steps. But you may be, right? Like they may say, oh yeah, let's do that. That sounds great.
And again, we talked before about keeping it light, smile, like look at me as much as you can. Like, I'm positively helping you. This is not, I think you did really badly and I'm going to I can make you better. This is like, we're part of a team. This is about making the team work better together. I'm part of the team. I want to help. That's the sort of mentality you need to have.
Mm-hmm. And presentation and tonality, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so when suggesting solutions, focus first on actions the team can take together rather than telling your manager how they can change their behavior. Because the fundamental principle is you can only directly change one person's behavior, and that's your own. So we're going to make some suggestions which are kind of around, sort of workarounds around things that people do naturally. So for example, instead of saying, you could communicate project priorities more clearly, or even you should, which is even worse. Like, never should on people. It's not nice, even yourself. You should communicate project priorities more clearly. You could try something like, well, what if we create a shared project dashboard which we update weekly? And I'll be happy to make a template and we'll start from there. Like, that way the team has something where the project priorities are being communicated. We're not changing the manager's behavior, we're sort of changing around them. It's kind of like if you went on a diet, one of the helpful things to do would be to empty the fridge of all the high calorie foods and put low calorie things in there, because then you can't help but eat carrots because there's only carrots in there. That's the kind of thinking we're trying to do. We're trying to get around our own behaviors, because behavior is really hard to change, even when you want to.
It takes so much energy just to focus on what you're doing and not just behave instinctually. And it's a shift, right? That it requires so much attention. Also, coming up with like a suggestion, a solution, something like that, the idea of a project dashboard to solve a problem avoids making your manager feel defensive. And so it removes the responsibility or the onus on them to do the right thing, even though it's technically their responsibility. It's everyone's responsibility to do the right thing in my mind. Making changes in the atmosphere around them may cause them to make changes, but don't bet on it.
Just don't bet on your manager being able to change their behavior, even if they want to. Because just think about your own life and the number of times you've set a New Year's resolution for yourself and 3 weeks later you've broken it. Like, this stuff is hard. And what we don't want is for you to think that, oh, well, I helped my manager, therefore I've solved this problem, or they should do something, because it's probably not going to happen. We're gonna look at a 10% or a 15% improvement. There's no way this is like anything you're going to do now is going to change everything. So like we said, think about things that force the team into doing the right thing or avoid doing the wrong thing, rather than expecting your manager and the team to change their behavior. So another example, if you think about your microwave, you cannot start the microwave and have it like emit microwaves unless the door is properly shut. Microwaves don't start unless the door is properly shut, because the engineers know that it's really bad for us to have microwaves just like all over the kitchen. And so the safety mechanism is built in so that we can't do the wrong thing. So this is like, we're trying to make lanes for us. As another one that I know is it's completely the opposite end of the spectrum. In fighter jets, in order to launch a missile, you have to flip up the cover over the switch before you can press the switch, so that you can actually not accidentally drop a missile. Very good idea. But there's lots of things we do in life to stop us doing that. I have this really cool app, which I've talked about before, which launches my Zoom meetings from my calendar 3 minutes before the Zoom meeting starts, so that I can't be late for meetings. I know I will be late, and so I have this thing that stops me being late. So that's what we're thinking about. We're thinking about sort of things that will stop us doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, there's a book about this, right? Nudge. There's a book called Nudge, about the idea that we're creating opportunities for the right thing to happen and limiting like the negatives. And it's a little bit like when you're in like a manufacturing thing or environment, not manufacturing thing, manufacturing environment, and there's cutouts for the tools. And so that tool fits in that cutout and that's where it goes. And if it's not there, it's missing and it can't go in any other spot, that kind of thing. So we're creating an environment where the right things get done. And it can be a lot around problem solving, a template for the reporting, etc. And don't be shocked. So be aware that when you brainstorm and you make these suggestions, not all of them will come to fruition. Not all people will engage. Not all of the changes will happen. Additionally, it might be hard in terms of people's response. Sometimes the responses that your teammates have are based on factors that your manager can't or won't or doesn't want to change. There's some things that people want at work that are not part of what the organization supports, and your manager doesn't have the control to fix in air quotes, that thing. Some things you think might make your job easier are too expensive or can't be implemented because of other rules. And that is honestly just part of what we talk about often, the taxes of being part of an organization. Some organizations, they make choices and those choices limit our ability to get every single thing that we want. There's also the chance that your manager or a manager out there just doesn't care about their team enough for some of the people on the team. And people may be feeling, oh, my manager doesn't care. Hey, guess what? Some people don't care a ton about their work.
Or some people do care. Some managers do care, and they don't display it in the way that their team members want. And so it doesn't matter
sense
how
to the other person.
How many times they are asked that question, does your manager care about you? They're always going to say no, because they're not getting what they want in the way they want it or to the amount that they want it. That doesn't necessarily mean that the manager's wrong, but some of these things are insoluble in that sense.
Yes. If you're trying to help solve these problems, just don't expect to solve everything right now. And don't expect to solve every problem. There's some things that aren't going to shift. And additionally, it might be that something comes up later. You might not be able to think of a solution for one of these problems right now, but you can continue to think about it, look for opportunities, do some research, ask some questions of other people, that kind of thing. You don't have to fix everything right now. We're just trying to support, and brainstorming is a way to support. Some of this stuff might not come to fruition. Any step you take here is supportive of your manager, even if they don't all result in puppies and rainbows and like happy meadows of bluebonnets and things.
Okay, so let's give you some suggestions. So I took the Gallup's engagement survey, which is one of the ones that's most commonly used. They have 12 engagement survey questions. We've got each of the questions and some suggestions as to what you could do if your manager had a low score in that area or if they had a score that they wanted to improve in that area.
I'm so excited about this part. I think it's really useful.
Cool. So the first question is, I know what is expected of me at work. So if your manager didn't get a great score, wanted to improve that, you as a team could write a list of what you think is expected and share it with your manager. Like you could get everybody together and say, hey, we're all going to write what we think our job descriptions are and what the standards are. And then we're going to share it with our manager and then we'll see if we match.
Right? Your team could develop a responsibility matrix and compare that with your manager's list.
Project teams, the Project Management Institute has this thing called a team charter, which project teams and IT teams often use. And that includes goals and an operating agreement, which has agreements about how we work together and what the standards are. I haven't done it myself, so I'm not a big, I don't have a lot of knowledge. There's some stuff that's longer and some shorter, but you could take either that if you have a project charter, or you could take some stuff from the web about how to develop one and develop one for your team that helped you understand as a team what you were supposed to be doing or what was expected of you at work. And a lot of the times what's expected of me, that when you think you don't know, it's just a mismatch of expectations that causes what's the word? I'm trying to avoid the word drama. A mismatch of expectations that causes friction at work and life in general.
Very true. So the next one that's on the Gallup poll is, I have the materials and equipment I need to do my work right. And one way to handle disconnect on this question is offering to create a resource inventory so the team knows who has what and what could be like borrowed or traded or utilized at different times.
Even software licenses could be,
sure.
This doesn't have to be physical things. Your team might need a better process for requesting resources. If you're in a big organization and every time you want something, you get knocked back, maybe someone goes and researches, hey, how come that team gets their stuff every single time? Go find out. Like, maybe they just write better requests than you do.
Yeah. You could offer to investigate low-cost alternatives to resources that the team has to share. There's a lot of great resources out there right now that are pretty free.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so the next question is, at work, I have the opportunity to do what I do best every day.
Gosh, this one is so tricky. I really struggle to believe, and this is an aside, y'all, that more than 50% of people in the world feel this way about their job. And it has nothing to do with their job. Like, let me say it differently. It has nothing to do with their manager and everything to do with the job they've chosen to have.
Yeah,
right?
I'm with you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
The thing I do best every day is organize my own personal schedule. Is that a thing that I feel that my job allows me to do? No. I think a lot of people, like, what if what you do best every day is crafts?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I just want to say out loud that if a manager gets a low score on this one, it really feels like in a lot of cases, the reason people don't get to do what they feel they do best every day at work is because they've chosen jobs that don't necessarily reflect the thing that they feel they do best, which may be cook or swim. I don't know. You know what I mean? Anyways.
Okay. Interesting. That's not where my mind went, but I'm interested. Like, it's a different perspective.
It's not really fair, I think, to that Gallup asks this question.
Okay, but let's look at some solutions. So, for example, the team could share a strengths inventory where they share what they feel they do well and what they're working on. And there's probably some hidden talents in there that people are resentful that they are not allowed to use. Maybe they're just frustrated, spreadsheet drivers, and nobody ever asked them to drive a spreadsheet.
Yeah, for sure.
You can organize lunch and learn sessions to share skills across the team. A lot of the time people want to show how they can do something. And sometimes people are doing something in their own job that they feel like they do well, but it's such a tiny part of their job, or it's something that makes them more efficient, and it gets overlooked. And so that's why they feel like they don't get to do what they do well, and being able to share it feels better.
The one that always gets me in this area is PowerPoint. I have no love for PowerPoint. I'm going to come out and say it. I have no love for PowerPoint. Why is it always choosing a different increment every time I move the box? Like, I move the box and it's like a big jump and then a small jump. And I need the small jump when it gives me the big jump. Anyway, there are people who love PowerPoint. They love it and they want to do more PowerPoints. And hey, guess what? Good. Do all my PowerPoints because, dude, I don't love it. So we could use the lunch and learn to discover that somebody else loves PowerPoint while you don't, which also could lead to another suggestion, which is to offer to cross-train with some colleagues and learn from them. People who like to do something love to teach other people about that thing. They love it. That's a really fun thing to do for everybody, I think.
And if you shared a strengths inventory, for example, and you think, okay, I just told my manager I'm really good at spreadsheets and I hardly ever get to use them, and now they're going to change my job so that I do spreadsheets, then you're thinking too hard. That's probably not going to happen. Think of this as this is a starting point of a gradual move towards being able to do something more fully. Like, I don't want to give the impression that we might make this suggestion and your manager changes everybody's job so everybody's happy. There's also always a job in a team that nobody wants to do. Someone has to do it.
That's part of what I was getting at with the whole, like, if you've chosen a job where you don't get to do your most favoriteest thing all day long every day, that's pretty common. So there's that.
Yeah.
Okay, the next Gallup question. In the last 7 days, I have received recognition or praise for doing good work. Okay, well, hey, great news. You as a peer can be the person who recognizes people on the team. You don't have to wait for the manager to do it. Peers can support each other in making a more positive culture.
Yeah, exactly. And if you start praising other people in, let's say you have a weekly team meeting, and in your report you say, and thank you to Alex for saving my butt once again this week when I screwed up and I gave him the wrong image and he had to change it at the last minute. If you say thank you in your presentation, your 2 minutes of this is what happened in my week, other people will start doing it too. So you can start the ball rolling. Your team, you could start a Slack or a Teams channel just for recognition. So if you get recognition from customers, for example, you could put that in, if you're the person who receives all of the recognition from customers because you answer the customer service queue and you say, oh, they're praising Cassie for being awesome. You put that in that channel. The manager doesn't have to do anything other than authorize you to put that channel in.
You could also really, in project retrospectives, make sure to include thank yous and recognition and, wins. So positive input to those people who were part of the project.
Okay, this is another one I find really hard. My supervisor or someone at work seems to care about me as a person. It's just that some supervisors, some managers care and don't show it in the ways that people want to see it. Some people don't. They care, but they don't show it a lot because they're just not that demonstrative. They're focused. High Ds, for example, in the DISC model, are focused on getting things done. Like, even when you've just done something, they're not necessarily going to praise you or say thank you because their brain is already on the next thing that needs doing.
Absolutely.
And so this is about, you can't change another person. You can only change yourself. And you can be the one who cares for other people.
I hate to make this analogy because it feels a little icky because we're talking about work, but it's the love languages thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely, and y'all may, if in your real life, you may have experienced this, that what one person recognizes as, oh, this person cares about me, and what another person recognizes are vastly different. And man, it can catch you off guard real bad if you're not paying attention. Some people like gifts, and some people like words, and some people like, chores. And I'm a chores person.
Yeah.
I like other people to do chores for me. And that's how I feel recognized. Like, if somebody does my chore and I don't have to do the chore, yay. Other people don't feel that way. I know somebody who really wants a thank you all the time. That's their thing. And to me, a thank you, to be totally honest with you, oftentimes when people say thank you to me, it goes unnoticed. I feel like it's mostly routine for people to say the words thank you. So, okay. This question, here's some stuff we can do to help increase our scores, right? Again, you can be the person who cares for others. Wendy mentioned that. Your manager doesn't have to be the one to do it. There could be a shared events calendar for birthdays and anniversaries and days of remembrance. Just because the calendar prompted you to do it doesn't mean it's not real, because putting a calendar together that remembers those things is one way to honor remembering them.
Yeah, exactly.
Doing the calendar is actually more work than just remembering.
It is. And then when the calendar reminds you,
yeah,
you put it in the Slack channel. Happy birthday.
Yes,
Easy.
Absolutely.
Okay. There is somebody at work who encourages my development. So again, the strengths inventory, the lunch and learn, the cross-training suggestions might work here. Remember that you can help anyone who has less skills than you.
And in any area.
In any area, exactly. So you can be the least experienced person on your team and be the best person at understanding how email works and help someone else with their email, or be the best person at Googling things, or ChatGPT prompts and still help other people in the team, even though they have more experience than you, and encourage them to learn the things that you learn. It doesn't say in this question, there is a manager who encourages my development. It says there is someone. And you can agree as yourself, or you can agree as a team that you're going to encourage each other.
If you're a manager and you're listening to this, the manager can also encourage people to support their peers. So mentioning in a one-on-one, hey, so-and-so's struggling with this, or so-and-so's really good at this. Why don't you guys chat about it? That is a way for the manager to encourage that as well. Okay, next one. At work, my opinions seem to count. So one way to handle this is when the team is making a decision together, you can take responsibility for making sure everyone's voice has been heard. Encourage people to speak up.
Yeah, I was on a meeting yesterday and we got to the end of the meeting and one of the people who is the complete opposite of me said, did we hear from so-and-so? And I was like, oh no, we didn't. I'm really sorry. And afterwards I said, please always do that. Even though it looks bad on me that I forgot to ask, please always ask because I won't remember. Like, so you can be that person who says, oh, we didn't hear from Katie. You can be the one who you can offer to gather input to present to your boss when they need to make a decision. So even if they make the same decision that they would have done otherwise, at least everybody got to say, I think we should do A or B.
Mm-hmm. Okay, another one is the mission or purpose of my company makes me feel my job is important. One way to handle this is to create a wall of positive feedback from customers, or take responsibility for sharing customer service stories with the greater team, like you mentioned, maybe in the Slack channel or via email. There's also the idea of making a project completion board, which gives the team kind of an idea of the bigger impact of things that are happening. Sometimes the stuff you do at your desk doesn't really feel like it's contributing outside when, in fact, it is.
Yes. And a lot of the times we have project progress. You know, how are we doing in this project? And it's a negative thing because it's a goad to getting the work done. So what you want is something that's celebratory of like, even if it's like, we got this milestone done, yay! We want those kind of things.
Yeah.
Make people feel better about it. Okay. Next question on the survey is, my associates or fellow employees are committed to doing quality work. And we want to remind you again, the only person's behavior you can change is your own. But you can create a peer review for your work. And even if you start asking for peer feedback, it will encourage other people. So when you've done something, and I find it helpful, it's not necessarily about having someone look at my work and tell me I'm great. It's like a different pair of eyes on it when you've been staring at it for days is really helpful.
No joke. I have that a lot. We can also use a hot wash to really like engage with a non-judgmental way of reviewing how projects were delivered.
Right. And then therefore increasing the quality over time.
Yeah. Just doing better next time. The next question in the survey is, I have a best friend at work.
Which is really hard. You can't make people be best friends. Unless you're in kindergarten, in which case you probably can. But
this one is really tough for me, partially because is the question, some people would interpret the question as my best friend overall is at work versus I have a friend at work and who is my best friend of work, my work people.
And some people don't want to be friends at all. So like
for sure,
they're going to mark the question 0 and the poor manager's sitting there going like, what am I supposed to do about the fact that you don't have any friends?
Honestly, it's not, I feel like it is so unfair to managers. And okay, so if you're on the team, you can make a habit of joining meetings early, allow for some relationship building, check in with people, talk about stuff that is off topic. Also, there can be a parking lot in weekly team meeting agendas, which for us, what we've experienced is that this often helps people to say, hey, this is why I'm out for the rest of the day, or when I'm going on vacation, this is what I'm doing. So then you learn more about things that are happening outside of work for people, which is really fun. Somebody on our team is going camping which is going to be great for them. Yeah, he's going to have fun. So really like off-topic conversation starters in some cases.
Yeah. Or you could offer to be the onboarding buddy for the next person on the team. So you might not be able to start some buddy system on a very established team, but when the next person joins, then you can be their buddy and they'll have a friend at work.
Yeah. Another question on the poll is the last 6 months, someone at work has talked to me about my progress. Okay, well, let's include some progress discussions on team calendars. And we could even create like a lightweight tracker to encourage team members to initiate conversations around progress.
So we make it a sort of a team standard around the manager that progress gets brought up every now and again. And therefore, it's one of those things where you can't help but do the right thing because, so if it's on the calendar, the person who reads the calendar and is focused on checking tasks off is going to bring it up. So at least one person brings it up, and that helps a manager who doesn't necessarily think that way to bring it up.
Mm-hmm. And then the last one is, in the last year, I have had opportunities at work to learn and grow. Okay. Again, strengths inventory, lunch and learn, cross-training. And it's both the manager's responsibility, but also everybody's responsibility, I think, to watch out for opportunities to learn something new from a project or teach other people. The people that you work with, if you, especially like here, the people we work with know so many things, and they know things that I don't know. And they learn new things and they work with new systems, and you can learn a lot of stuff that I don't always know how to do. It's exciting. And again, people love to share their knowledge.
They do. And there are so many pieces of software now that you can put in your browser that will do I'm thinking of Loom, but there's a bunch of them where you can just do like a short video of like, this is how this software works when they change it, and that's the smallest piece of learning that there is, that you teach someone, oh, Excel has this new function now. But start small, and it's way easier to find those small opportunities than it is to put everybody on management training for the year.
Planning an offsite? Make it count. If you're hosting an offsite and bringing your team together, let us know. We offer customized training tailored to your goals and the time you have available. Enhance your team's experience with practical, actionable content you can apply immediately, starting the very next day at work. To explore options and schedule the session, contact Maggie at customerservice@manager-tools.com. Okay, so we've given you some ideas. All of these things probably require you to follow up. Once you start a project like this, the next steps are to carry the project out, assess the impact. Your company may or may not issue another formal engagement survey. If you're just now hearing this, there's a solid chance that your company, that engagement surveys they're not as popular as they were 3 years ago. So they might have fallen by the wayside by the time you're hearing this. And even if there isn't a second one coming, you can still initiate future or subsequent conversations with your boss about how the suggested solutions are working. Ask the team too in meetings. But with your manager, what you would say is something like this. It's been a couple months since we discussed ways to improve team communication. I've noticed the weekly status updates seem to be helping. Have you noticed any positive changes? Is there anything you think we should do to adjust? That kind of thing.
And one of the frustrations employees have with engagement surveys is that they don't see any changes after they've given feedback for many of the reasons that we discussed in the first part. Or that any changes wear off quickly as the day-to-day, grind overtakes any incentive to carry on with that change. Change is hard. So scheduling a follow-up helps you follow through, helps the team follow through as much as it does helps the manager to follow through. And it also gives you the opportunity to celebrate success. Even if it's a small success, like 4 of us learned how to do equals unique on Excel. Yay!
I don't even know what that is. I love it.
It's the best thing ever. ChatGPT taught it to me, but it's really cool.
Okay.
And any of those successes encourages your manager and you and your team to continue with those positive behaviors of trying to improve things.
It is important even as you're following up, to recognize limits. We do want you to take the initiative to help your manager improve engagement. This can help improve your work day to day. It can be career building. And there's just some things you can't fix, and that's okay. Organizations are systems that involve humans, and when humans make up systems, they're never perfect. So just remember that this isn't going to make everything perfect. The most obvious stumbling block is that a manager doesn't want to or can't change. And while it's often the first thought that we would have, it probably isn't true. A manager who's willing to have this conversation with you is at least willing to try something different. Let's not paint that your manager automatically with the brush of, oh, they don't want to change, they can't change, because it might not be true. And people often want to do better. It's just not always obvious. There's other reasons things might not work out. The team may not embrace the change, even though the changes would seem to address the issues that the survey appears to have highlighted, or there may be bigger stuff happening. Maybe there's a fundamental shift in the company culture, the leadership style, the mission, the product, the main product line, that kind of thing. While you do have agency or an influence, you can't single-handedly change an entire organization from the bottom or even the middle. So we just want to remind you to understand your scope of influence here and know that small changes are positive and can be super useful in terms of the feeling of the group, even if it doesn't mean that we've shifted the entire organization or we've made these huge sweeping changes, or, you may be thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to put this in place, and then, what's going to happen is the whole organization will do it.
Sometimes you can't get even your teammates to do it.
Right.
Because, you tried. It's okay. We don't want you to think that a failure is a failure. This is extracurricular. You tried. It's good. Gold stars all around.
Yes.
And if it works out, extra gold stars.
Right.
Improving your manager's engagement scores improves work life for everyone. Your manager feels better about the job they're doing, and your team will feel better about the work they're doing. And you benefit from taking action instead of just lodging your complaints in the engagement survey and expecting change to just happen. And you'll also learn a valuable lesson. Change doesn't just happen. You have to make it happen. Taking some steps to try and effect the change that you want is way better than just lodging your complaints. It's a bit like having one of those complaint boxes and you put your complaint in there in a piece of paper and nothing happens. And then you're even more mad about the thing you're complaining about. I have a rule at Toastmasters because it's a volunteer organization. You don't get to complain unless you're going to help with the next one. So whatever we just did, you can complain and tell me how to do it better, but you've got to help with the next one because clearly you know better. So taking action is the antidote to worry and anxiety and also frustration often. So take action. Thanks, Kate.
Thank you, Wendy.
That's all for this week, folks. Join us next week as we cover a new topic. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to follow, rate, and review our podcast. It helps more people find us and keeps the conversation going. Have a good one.